Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today's tutorial is for the Could I Be Any Clearer Stadium bag from Sincerely Gem Patterns. This is the first version I've ever sewn up in this pattern. I thought it was such a fun bag. I loved how it sewed up. I love how it looks, and so I just wanted to do a tutorial on it. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite features, then we'll go through the pieces we need, and then we'll sew it up. The thing I love the most on this is so silly, but I love the way the handle looks. It reminds me of those old school lunch boxes, the metal ones we had as kids, and I just love it. So I actually want to add this kind of handle, this kind of strap to every bag I sew now, but I really like it. It does have a front zipper pocket. You could leave this off if you wanted to, or I'm actually going to do the one today in clear so I don't mess with the print of the vinyl I'm using today. I thought you could even put a slip pocket on the back. You could put a slip pocket inside. Everything opens up really wide. You can really get in there and put a lot of stuff in this bag. So super cute. Crossbody here if you want to carry it that way. I'm wanting to do a version as a backpack, but I won't do that today. I haven't worked out those details just yet, but I do plan on doing that in the future. So let's talk about the pieces we're going to need. I'm going to set this aside so I can reference it and so you can kind of see it to understand what all you need. This is going to be my crossbody strap. The next thing I'm going to have is that front zipper pocket. Like I said, I'm doing mine out of a clear vinyl. This is a glitter vinyl. I don't have this sewn on, it's just clipped. But I went ahead and put a zipper pull onto the zipper. And I cut out 2 pieces of jelly vinyl. The pattern gives you the measurements. It actually gives you a piece even to cut that out. We only need 2 of these because we only do the zipper tabs on the front pocket. We don't do it on the top main zipper. So I just folded them in half and clipped them on. No big deal. That'll be the first thing I sew. I cut out 2 D-ring connectors. This is going to be for the cross body strap, my longer strap, not the handle. We cut it out. You can draw a line in the middle and then just fold each raw edge to the middle. We won't fold it again. We'll leave it just like that. And then that will be how we will add our D-ring after we top stitch down both sides of these. So I'll have 2 of those. I'm also going to set the 2 D-rings to the side. Then I have the handle. You will cut 3 pieces of webbing to make the handle. For the top zipper opening, I'm going to be using another piece of zipper tape. I'm using 2 zipper pulls, but you don't have to. You could just use 1. For the front and back gusset, we'll have 1 piece each. The front gusset is the skinnier piece. The back gusset is the wider piece. These are the same length but different widths. So this is your front, this is your back. The back is where we will attach that handle to. Then we have the bottom gusset that goes all the way around. This is the longer piece. Okay, so those are the 3 gusset pieces you need. That's it. And for the main part of this bag, oh my gosh, I'm using this gorgeous clear vinyl. This is available for retail right now over at Coffins and Diamonds. I will have the link to where you can buy this in the description. I love the colors on it. I love the artwork. I think it's just adorable, and I think it's going to make a great stadium bag. I'm going to take these clear panels. I'm also going to take my handle and zipper gussets. All of these pieces I'm going to set aside for just a minute and start working on some other things first. So let's slide those aside. The things I'm going to sew first is I'm going to sew my 2 D-ring connectors first. I'm going to sew the zipper ends onto the front pocket zipper. That is the smaller of your 2 zippers. I'm also going to sew the 2 ends of my cross body strap. I'm going to make mine adjustable, so I went ahead and slid on the adjustable bar strap, I just fed it through one end and folded under the raw edge of the webbing. And then here's the adjustable bar. I just slid on one swivel hook. I slide it on so that it looks like it's backwards, but it'll work out the right way in the end. After I have that one on, I take the free edge and you just feed it through that adjustable bar. So you take it up one side, over, and then back through the other side. And then you add that second swivel hook onto it and fold it over. So I'm going to do all of these steps at once and get these smaller pieces prepped and start working on the bigger pieces then. So now I have my adjustable crossbody strap done. I'm going to set it aside. I won't need it until the very end when my bag is finished. My two D-ring connectors, I top stitched down both sides. I just did 1/8 of an inch away top stitching down each side. I'm going to go ahead and slide on the D-ring, and the D-ring, I'll have the flat part on the wrong side of the D-ring. And I'm just going to pull the two short edges together, put a clip in place, and I'm going to go ahead and baste across that short edge just to keep everything secure. Same thing for my other D-ring. So I'm going to finish that step. My zipper for the front pocket, I top stitched both zipper ends, zipper tabs, whatever you want to call them, on each side. And I just did that 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge. Where this jelly vinyl is non-fraying, I don't need to worry about edges, like folding in edges. I just simply fold it in two. Now I'm going to pull out that front clear pocket. All I'm going to do is my vinyl doesn't have a right or wrong side, but if yours does, it's going to be right side up. I'll take my zipper. I want my pull closing to the left. I will place the zipper right side down, so right sides will be together, and I'm just going to center it on this front pocket. You can measure, you can just eyeball it. I'm okay with eyeballing it. It's a small piece. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to go and stitch from one edge of the zipper tab all the way to the other with the seam allowance given the pattern. I'm going to make sure I back stitch at the beginning and the end of this step. So let me go ahead and do these two steps now. My two D-ring connectors are finished right now, so I'm going to set these aside until we're ready to attach them to the rest of the bag. The zipper has been sewn on right sides together. Now what I need to do is I need to flip all this up. We'll flip it up and we're going to press that seam down. So even the part that's not sewn, I'm still going to press it down so there's a finished edge there at the top. When you're working with clear vinyl, this isn't a TPU, so it's a little bit stiffer, and so it'll kind of hold its shape. I don't need to really worry about it too much. Now at this point, I need to decide, do I feel like changing my thread because I'm going to be stitching across this with black thread, or am I leaving it the same? I'm going to choose to just leave it the same. Why go for perfection now? I'm not used to doing that. Why change it up? So I'm just going to top stitch all the way across. That'll secure the seam down, and I will top stitch only 1/8 of an inch away from that finished folded edge. So now that I've top stitched the zipper and to the front pocket, now it's time to attach this pocket to my main panel piece. So we have the zipper pocket ready. We have the front panel piece. So I'm going to place it right sides up. I'm going to take my zipper pocket and I'm going to place it right sides down, but it's going to be upside down. The pattern tells us how far up we measure. So you measure up that far, I draw a line, and then I just center this pocket onto this. I put this raw edge of the zipper directly on that line. I'm going to go ahead and sew the zipper pocket on now with the seam allowance given in the pattern. You could also use double-sided tape or glue or whatever you need to. Since I have the line drawn, I'm okay to just be watching that line, but you can use whatever method you feel best with to make the sewing easier and more enjoyable for you. So this is what I have so far. I made sure I backstitch really well at the front and the end of this zipper pocket. The other thing I want to mention is that sometimes clear vinyl, you're not sewing on clear vinyl, you're sewing on the zipper tape, so your foot's fine. But sometimes clear vinyl will stick to the bed of your machine. Now I'm sewing with the TPU, and this specific one is not that sticky. And it may even be because it's such a large print that it glides through my machine easier. There's very few spots. If you can see, there was only a small spot that I sewed that didn't have the design on the back of it. So that definitely helps. But if you have trouble, you can lift up the vinyl, or you can put a piece of parchment paper or even just fabric, whatever, underneath just so it glides easier. But you have to kind of play around to see which vinyl is sticky and which not. For some reason, they're all different. So now that I have this sewn on, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to pull it down and secure that. I'm going to go ahead and close the zipper. And what I kind of want is, let me show you, I kind of want it to be a little bit 3D. So you can see how the zipper tab is folded flat and there's that gap there. That's what I want. I want it, I don't know if you can see that, but the zipper tape is almost like folded in half and the zipper teeth are up. So let's look at how the different ways it could look. If I folded it flat down, it wouldn't, this would be the way if you folded it flat down. And that's fine to do that. It's just you won't have as much room with your pocket. So really what you want to do is, instead of your teeth looking like this, you want to lift that up and let your teeth be up. So that means you're going to kind of pinch your zipper tab so it's going to be together. The ends of your zipper tab will kind of meet. I'm not going to worry about adding any kind of clips or anything. It would be hard to do that anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just look, get everything lined up, and then I'm just going to hold it down with my hands and start sewing. I am going to look when I pull around to see that everything looks about even here at the bottom. And you can see it does. It looks pretty centered. So I feel comfortable with that. If you're concerned, you can take time to measure. You could draw a line here at the bottom as to how far up it is to make sure it's even. You could add glue or double-sided tape, anything you wanted to do. One thing we need to make sure we do is we do need to make sure we backstitch really well here. You will be able to feel that there's quite a bit of like pressure or force pulling at this where your zipper tape is lifted up. So make sure you do that well. So I'm going to take it over to my machine and I'm just going to fit my needle down right there. You'll sew this with the seam allowance in the pattern, but basically I'm just going to go right around the edge of it as with my zipper foot aligned with that raw edge to make sure I get a straight stitch all the way around. I'm going to push down here to get it as flat as possible. My vinyl's not sticky at all, so I'm not having trouble, but if yours is, remember to lift it up. Also, whenever I get here to the middle, let me get to the middle here, this is the time I'm going to come over to this other side and make sure that it is going to look about the same way as this one. I'll make sure that my teeth look about the same, that my zipper tab looks the same, and I'm going to go ahead and hold that down while I'm going across here in case things shift a little when it's going under my needle. Okay, there is that front zipper pocket. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love the addition of the glitter on it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I didn't trim that thread and I should have. It's going to be a little challenging for me to get in there and trim it. I can, but trim your threads. Don't be like me. Trim them first before you sew your pocket down. I'm okay with the black thread. Are you mad that I didn't use purple thread? I don't even own purple thread, but that would have been cute. But anyway, here's the front pocket. Everything looks great on this. The only thing I have to do is trim up my threads and I'm done. So I'm going to set the front panel and the back panel aside. We are not going to do anything else with these until we're ready to put everything together with the gusset. So what I'm going to do now is pull out my gusset pieces. The pieces we'll use to construct our gusset will be that longer zipper tape, the handle for the top, the front gusset, the back gusset, and then your bottom gusset piece. The bottom gusset piece I'll be attaching last, so I'll set it aside, but I'm going to start working on the top of the gusset and specifically attaching the front gusset first. Since I have my zipper pulls in the middle, 2 of them, I don't have to worry about which way the zippers are going. It won't matter at all. So all I need to do is, my jelly vinyl does not have a right or wrong side, so I just lay it down. If yours does, or if you're using something that does have a right or wrong side, just lay it down right side up. Then you'll take your zipper tape and you're just going to lay it down with the right side against the right side of your vinyl or jelly or clear fabric, whatever you're using. What I'll do then is this raw edge here, I'll just take the zipper tape and place it right up against that raw edge. Let me put a clip there just so it'll kind of stay in place and you can see it a little bit easier. And then the next thing I'll do is I will just stitch. I'll start stitching here at the top at the short end. I'll back stitch there, make sure it's secured in place. And then I'm just going to go all the way down this gusset piece using the seam allowance given in the pattern. So I have that sewn together. Now all I do is I'm just going to flip the zipper tape up while pushing the seam allowance down. The jelly kind of holds its shape a little bit better than some material, so I'm just going to finger press because I definitely couldn't iron all the way down. And then I'm going to come back and top stitch now 1/8 of an inch away onto the jelly vinyl, and that will secure that zipper tape and seam allowance to go down, and it'll just be 1/8 of an inch away from that folded edge there. So that's what the front looks like. So we have it attached on. The next thing we need to do is attach the back of the gusset piece. That is your water piece. You're going to attach it the same way. You're just going to put them right sides together. The only thing we have to be careful with now is we need to make sure that we do have the 2 short edges of the gusset matching. So I'm going to put a clip on this and have my raw edges lining up. You can see from the back, they are going to be lining up, and I'm going to sew with that same seam allowance, making sure I back stitch at the beginning and the end. Have that sewn together. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull these 2 apart, pushing that seam allowance to the opposite side. And then I'm just going to top stitch on the jelly vinyl, securing the zipper tape and seam allowance to that folded edge. If you do not have your zipper pulls already attached, go ahead and add them now, because we're going to add the D-rings and then we're going to add the bottom gusset piece. The 2 D-ring connectors are going to go onto the back side, the wider piece of our gusset. Now if you're getting a little stressed and you're like, oh no, we need to put it right here, the reason why we're putting them back here is so that it's more centered and it will look better as the center, as this place in the center. If we put it up here, it'd look a little wonky. It'd look a little weird. So I know our mom tells us we need to put them right there because we're used to doing that, but for this one we do need to place it as the pattern tells us to place it, which is going to be on the back side. And then go ahead and baste your D-ring in place on both sides. Now that I have my D-ring in place on both sides, I have my zipper pulls, everything attached, I'm going to trim up my zipper tape so that I can attach this bottom gusset piece. After I trim up my tape, I'm just going to fit that along that short edge. If you're having mine's always a little bit larger. My zipper panel is always a little bit larger because I love to see that zipper tape showing through. So I always have to trim a little bit. So if yours is like mine, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Just center on this bottom piece, and you can trim down your overhang if you feel like you need to, or you can just catch it in your seam allowance. Not a big deal. So let's go ahead and do these steps now and get this bottom gusset attached. Make sure you sew it on with the seam allowance given the pattern. This stitching right here is important because the pattern designer has tested that width of the gusset several times, or the length of the gusset, so that it fits perfectly on the front and bottom panel. So this seam allowance is very important to get accurate. I'm going to take the other edge and lift it up and just attach it the same way to make that loop for the zipper gusset. Now that I have both short edges sewn up, I'm just going to flip this and then top stitch. I want to top stitch on the bottom gusset piece. That's the piece that does not have the zipper attached. I'm just going to roll that seam down so I can top stitch catching that seam. Now I have my gusset in a loop. If you need to trim down, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to do that off camera. And the next thing we will do is we will start getting the handle attached. Now the handle is going to go on the back, this wider side. So now what I need to do before I'm going to sew this, we have to make sure that we hide this raw edge. These short handles will be sewn directly onto our gusset piece, so we don't want the raw edge showing. It wouldn't be the end of the deal if it was, but we just want to take the time to focus on getting a nice look for this handle, since it is a feature focus on the top. So the pattern tells you exactly how far to measure in, but I'm going to make sure that I have these raw edges hidden. What that means is that from the front you won't see them. I'm going to go ahead and put some clips there to get that clip down in place. I'm going to do that again on this other side. If you're nervous, because this part will be sewn onto the gusset, if you're nervous, you can use glue or double-sided tape right here, and that'll kind of help that be secure. For this main strap piece, we're going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around this piece. So we're going to do a complete rectangle. So we'll get as close as we can to the hardware here, and then just stitch all along the raw edge there, about 1/8 of an inch away. Come back down as close to the hardware here and go back again the other way. So I have my strap top stitched all around. I have both of the short pieces to where the raw edges are folded in the middle, and they're both on the same side. So on this side, everything looks neat and ready to go. To attach that to the gusset, we will be working with the larger gusset piece, the back gusset piece. First thing you'll do is you'll find the center of that gusset. And then the pattern will tell you how far down you go from that center mark and how far out you go from the center mark. Whenever you do that, I just made 2 little lines right here, and that'll be what I use to know where I'm going to place the back edge of this D-ring. So I will place it there, and I'll place the other one there, and that will be able to create that lift that we need on the handle. So the handle will have the lift like this. What we'll do is we'll sew around the connector in a square, rectangle, whatever you want to call it, attaching it on all sides to the gusset. I'm going to do that one at a time with each one, but just go slow, back stitch both times when you start and stop, and we will get this attached. Make sure that you're attaching it only to the one side of your gusset, not to both sides. Basically what I kind of want is I kind of want everything to be in line here. So when I have that mark, I want to put it there at the top. D-ring connector and your strap kind of are in line. Okay, I have my handle attached. So now we have our gusset done. So we have 3 pieces left. The front, the back, and our gusset. We need to first, before we attach the gusset, to make some markings on it or some measurements. One thing I want to do first is the half marks on both the top and the bottom of the gusset. So I just put those 2 seams together, and then I'm just going to put a clip on both sides to denote where the top half of the gusset is. I'll do the same thing for the bottom of the gusset. On my pattern piece, I'm going to have not only the top and the bottom halfway marks, and I found those just by folding it together. I'm also going to have the side placement marks, which is from the pattern piece. That is going to tell me where the side of the gusset is going to go. So in a sense, you're going to have 4 places to mark to make sure you're on track with getting this gusset lined up properly. I'm going to start by placing the gusset with the front of the bag. I'm going to take my gusset piece. I want this to be the back, so that's attached to the back. So we're going to be attaching this part to the front of the bag. I am going to have it right sides together, and I'm just going to start clipping around by first matching up all these marks and placing a clip there in each one of those. So I've started and I went ahead and clipped those 4 initial spots together. So now that I have those 4 places clipped, I'm going to go ahead and go around the perimeter of this bag, adding clips and easing everything in place. If I need to make adjustments, I will, but that is my next step. I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like when it's all clipped, and then we will sew it together over here on the machine. So now I have my gusset clipped all the way around. Everything fits really nicely, and it's time for me to start sewing. I know that things can shift while sewing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing here first on the side. I want to try to make sure if I end up having any problems like with puckering or extra gusset or bag, that's going to happen on the bottom. So by sewing here and sewing around the top first, I make for sure that the top looks the best as possible, and any problems might be at the bottom where it's a little less noticeable. I'm going to sew around the perimeter bag using the seam allowance given, and then I'm going to repeat all those same steps for the back of the bag. Okay, I have everything sewn around with the gusset. You can see everything looks great, fit well, everything like that. If you want to bind, now is the time you would bind the bag. You could use for your binding pre-made binding. You could use fold over elastic. You can make your own binding. I do suggest if you're going to bind the bag that you use bias cut binding, because there is some curves and that stretch will help, but it's not a requirement. I'm not going to bind. I'm just going to trim down my seams and let it be. I feel completely okay with that. But definitely I know the binding would look great, but I'm not going to do it. What I am going to do though is I'm going to use that same method to attach the back to this gusset. So I will just fit it on here. I'm just going to clip around and sew it. I'm not going to show you that process because it's the exact same as the front, and that'll just save you a little bit of time of watching a video. So I will come back when this is done, and then we will turn the bag out and we're through. We're finished. It's that quick. So I finished sewing on the gusset to both sides, exterior and back, and I've trimmed the seams. I'm ready to turn this inside out. I am both excited and nervous. let's see how I did. I'm sorry guys, I just realized that I filmed me turning out the bag without the light on, so I'm sure it looks horrible. So I'm going to just kind of speed through the part where I turned the bag inside out and then cut to this scene where you can actually see that the bag does indeed look pretty. So sorry about that, I just forgot all about it. But you can see the bag is gorgeous. The glitter on the front is perfect. The clear vinyl looks so good. I love this print so much. So the clear vinyl is from Coffins and Diamonds. It's available for retail right now until she runs out. I don't know if she's getting any more of this print or not, but it is available right now. The pattern is the Could I Be Any Clearer from Sincerely Jen. Zipper tape is so majestic. I'm going to have links for all of those in my description. Thank you guys so much for watching another tutorial with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day sewing. If you have any concerns, questions about this pattern, or any tutorials you want me to do next, just let me know. Thanks for watching.